How many times have you heard this online? Congratulations, you've won.
Yeah, oh my god. You know what I do when I fucking panic, dude? Yeah. I'm like, no, I gotta click that X. Get out of here.
Get out of here. Get out of this website. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Millenniotic, the podcast, where a couple millennials discuss society, entertainment, and logistics of life. I'm Jason.
I'm AJ, and this is our 15th episode. If you missed any of our previous episodes, you can see all of the videos on our YouTube channel, as well as any of your favorite podcast platforms. Catch us there, subscribe, give us a like, and you can follow us on any of our social medias. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter is where we are.
We post all of our short little clips on there, so be sure to check it out.
Oh, yeah.
You can get nice little summaries.
Plenty of content for you.
Yes, exactly. So today we're going to be talking about scams and frauds.
Yes.
It's around that time.
Man, this is a topic that has really blown up in the internet era for sure. Because if you think about it, how would you be able to try to scam or, be fraudulent without the internet? Like, to me, it I can't see it working other than, like, sending mail to people and, and hoping they send you money back.
I mean, you had, like, those chain letters and stuff like that back
I guess, yeah. That would be the closest thing to it, right?
Pretty much.
But now it's rampant. It is a problem. So we got a lot of statistics from the Federal Trade Commission. They just have all of these nice little infographics, I guess you could call them.
Yeah, it's surprising how much they are actually keeping track of.
They have a lot of data on it. I'm very happy that they are, though, because it's something that the government needs to figure out a way to keep their people safe, whether it is physically or it's going to be cyber. Now, that's the next step.
When you think about it, can you blame them for keeping track of all this when they get 1.7 million fraud reports in a year?
They can't help but keep track of it because of how much it happens and how rampant it is. So you mentioned the 1.7 fraud reports, right? 1.7 million. So 23% of those report a loss.
That's insane.
So 1 in 4 people who get scammed actually lose money that they don't get back. That's terrifying.
Because I don't think I've ever actually fallen 100% for a scam. I've never actually reported a loss on any phone call or anything that I've actually received.
I've been fortunate enough to not lose anything either.
Yeah.
I've gotten to I guess you could call it the doorstep. But obviously being having some common sense stops you at a point, right? So we both have some stories we'll definitely share with our experiences when we get to them in all the information that we have here. So 23% reported a loss, which is $1.9 billion in total fraud. That's a lot of money.
That's so much.
That's a lot of money that people are making that they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be.
Yeah, and pretty much a good majority of all these scam artists are from overseas.
Yeah, because as soon as you wire something out of the country, it's gone.
Yeah, so
it's pretty much gone.
So that's $1.9 billion outside of our economy that is now gone.
Right.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to talk about how in a lot of the scam emails and stuff you'll see, the English is not good. And that's usually one of the biggest red flags. That's one of the biggest red flags. Because for one, they think that Americans are just made of money and we're rolling in it. So they come after us.
Yep.
Because I think there's a stat or something where it's if you have $10 and no debt to your name, you're in the top 25% of the wealthiest in the world.
That's insane.
You need $10.
You just need $10.
You need $10 and no debt.
Oh my God.
And so if you think about it, most of America
is in debt. They have a loan taken out of some kind or they owe money to something.
You would expect the US to be all of these loaded people, but in reality, we're right there when it comes to other countries.
Yep.
In our financial stability when it comes to the citizens of it and having to deal with the day-to-day expenses and then anything else that can come up medical expenses, they'll drain you clean for sure. So 1.9 billion in fraud loss,
which the FTC has reported that only $232 million of that is refunded to these people.
Which
$136 million of it is actually from the FTC.
Right. And the fact that they actually do refunds is great. Like, the fact that they do try to help people instead of just saying, thanks for the info, see you later, good luck. Yeah, that's true. It's fine.
Yeah. But how long do those phone calls take?
Like, how much of a process is it?
How much of a process is it just to prove that you have been a victim of fraudulent scams?
Right. So the top 3 categories we got are identity theft, very popular one.
Very.
Definitely have a story about that.
Oh, yeah.
Imposter scams, have a story about that one. And telephone and mobile services are the top 3.
Yeah.
Telephone and mobile services.
That one, so I'm curious as to whether they mean just telephone as in people trying to sell you something, calling you, or is that just they're trying to sell you, they're trying to sell you a service. I can see that it's people over the telephone trying to sell you service, because you mentioned how most of those people calling you, it's all broken English, where 79% of it is all automated calls, and then 29% of it is actual people talking to you, and even then it's just broken English too. So
or they just sound completely clueless and they're generic as possible, because that's really the goal that they want to be, is as generic as possible, but being able to cater to a certain group that they're trying to target, right?
Hello, I'm from Prestige Worldwide Credit Services.
Yeah, something like Prestige Worldwide. So one thing that I found interesting that they have here, and that is younger people report losing money to fraud more often than older people.
That is just bananas to me, because normally you think older people falling for internet scams and everything like that. You think of
feel it'd be easier for them.
You think of your grandma being on the computer and just clicking that link that says download here when the actual download link is below it,
or just a random ad that they see right on
exactly
one of the who knows websites that they could accidentally stumble upon.
Millionmemes.com.
Millionmemes.com. So we as younger people get scammed more often, but when people over age 70 plus got scammed, the median loss was much higher.
Okay.
So, for instance, the average, what does it say here? The median is $448. $448 for ages 20 to 29 when you get scammed.
Okay.
So that's small money, I guess.
Yeah, it's a little money because we don't have much to spend.
Right, and that's really all we can afford.
Yeah.
So 70 to 79 is $800, and then 80 plus they have is $1,600.
Oh my god,
that's the really vulnerable spot right there, especially if it's somebody who isn't financially secure as a retired person.
Yeah,
and they get a call saying, hey, we're from whatever. We can double your money. Just give us $2,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
so,
and they can actually spend that $2,000 to be able to try to double it. But the thing is those young people, from 20 to 29, they're struggling for money so much that they're more willing to fall for these scams.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And especially when they come at us with a smaller amount of money. It doesn't seem as bad, I guess you could say. It says imposter scams. About 1 in 10 people lose money to imposter scams. So I have a story about this.
Yeah.
So I am, I guess you could say, unemployed, self-employed.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So I get emails about job alerts. I got an email on one of my emails.
Yep.
That is usually a spam email. I would say I get a lot of garbage towards that email. I've had it since I was 10. And I got an email from a guy named Alan Parker. Now, if you don't know who Alan Parker is, which you probably shouldn't, because it's a fairly generic name.
It is very
generic.
Very
famous English, British, I guess you could say, director.
Oh, okay.
He did work in the 70s all the way up to 2005. No longer does work, by the way.
But it's actually targeting your field of work.
So I got an email saying, we found you on this website. This website, by the way, I signed up for once and didn't set up any of my account info. So it's just they found a list of people and said, we found you on this website. And the line, the subject title said, assistant editor urgently needed, right?
Okay.
So you're like, well, I got to respond quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
In order to get this position. So
this is a position that I want.
Right. I like to edit. So I emailed back a little sketchy at first because obviously the email wasn't perfectly grammar and all this kind of stuff. And the signature of it was all the same except where it said below where he has like, his telephone number, website, IMDb, and it has his email as well.
Oh my God.
The email that I got from him was the only thing not italicized in the signature. By the way, that's a red flag, which means he yoinked the signature from this guy and changed the email at the bottom so that it would, you know, play like it was him. So he later goes on and says, you know, I'm going to send you a check so you could buy equipment for a shoot. And I'm like, this is supposed to be an editor position. What is happening? And then I email him back. At this point, I knew this was like, it was no good. So I started to play along. I said, all right, where's the location of this of the shoot? Undisclosed.
Come to Area 51.
So this guy, first of all, is a British guy emailing me from a Gmail account telling me that I need to buy equipment for a shoot at an unknown location.
Hotmail.com.
At, like, urgently, right? Urgently. It needs to happen.
Yeah. I would love it if, like, that signature was pulled from, like, a different color stationery.
Right.
Like, Off-White or Manila. And it's just obviously, like, squared out. They just did shitty Photoshop.
So pretty much, like, every single one of these emails, I could tell was something was up.
Yeah.
So later, I got a official first class envelope in the mail, right? Because they said, send me your resume and a couple references. That was the first thing I did. So on my resume, I have my my address. Yeah. So they sent me a first class piece of paper, an envelope that had a piece of paper in it. Looks like it was printed from a Word doc.
Of course it was, yeah.
No letterhead or anything at the top of it. And said, here's the check for the money for the things that you said you would buy.
Oh my God.
How generic is that, right? Do not shred this check.
Yep.
Okay, dude.
Yep.
So I got the check. It was for like $10,500. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So here's what they want you to do. So the check you'll get is going to be an out-of-state check. And in order for that check to clear through your account, it takes a week if you go and deposit.
Yeah, exactly.
So what they want you to do, deposit the check, buy the equipment with your own money, and you wait for it to cash. Right? And then when it doesn't cash, they yoinked your money. See you later.
Because it bounces. It gets deducted from your account.
Right. Also, the check they sent me didn't have the top pay stub part. Another huge red flag.
Also, I read that letter of yours. So the representative, her name on there at one point says Scarlett Johansson.
Like,
I shit you not. It actually says that on there. So, and then later on, her email is a completely different name.
Yeah, so there's just a bunch of red flags. But it's interesting because it's somebody impostoring a famous person who goes after a field where there's a lot of contract and freelance work, right? Which my field has a lot of that. A lot of people make a living just working job to job. So he probably sent out this mass email using this to try to get people to buy equipment for an undisclosed shoot and all this kind of stuff. Meanwhile, probably harvesting your data for another scam later on down the line.
That's true.
So that's my story about how a famous director tried to scam me out of money.
Oh, man.
It's quite something.
At least you got his autograph. You have his signature.
I do. I took a picture of the letter they sent me in the check, and then immediately shredded both. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely.
I haven't heard back by the way, about anything.
Oh, how dare they?
I know. I'm actually kind of blue-balled because I was like, I want to see what's the next thing I'm supposed to do? Like, what is the thing you want me to buy? Yeah. So I talk about imposter scams, right? And this is one where they're trying to get like 10 grand from it.
Yeah, it was just insane.
Right.
But the thing is about like all these like imposter scams or just any scam in general is they know their stuff. Like they know enough to be able to kind of get through certain walls. It's just those little things that you really have to pay attention to. It's like you're like no letterhead. Like the guy's signature that was just the obviously
email
ripped.
address.
The email address. Like it's only like these little things that are there just barely out of notice for people who, if they don't have the frame of mind to really be paying attention, would just be like, oh yeah, I'll go cash this check. It's $10,000. Why the heck not?
Heck yeah, dude.
Yeah. Like you've been needing the budget to be able to get equipment. That way you can actually do freelance work. This is it. And it's just, no, that's not it.
Right. And like my field especially, to rent a bunch of equipment for a shoot, it could easily be 10 grand.
Yeah.
Depending on what you need to do.
Yeah.
So this is a field that isn't a bad one to target necessarily.
No, not at all.
So 667 million were reported last year in loss due to imposter scams, which is about 700 is the median loss, $700.
Okay.
That's a lot of money that people are trying to yoink from us. So we have to be vigilant. And that's why I say cybersecurity is really the next big field that needs to blow up.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's more about educating yourself on making sure you know what's real and what isn't real. And that's a big thing nowadays with the whole fake news and all of this, right?
Yep.
Everyone can post their own opinion online and say it's fact. It doesn't mean it is fact.
Yeah, because the thing is somebody could just like grab your email address. Probably there are like programs and stuff like that that could just randomly generate a crap ton of passwords just like that, or at least in a couple of hours to be able to figure out your password. Like it's like I got my Amazon account hacked at one point, and it's just I realized that it had gotten hacked. They changed the email address too. Yeah, because you know how like your phone saves like your email and your password, so you try relogging in and everything like that, and it's like, oh, do you want the password to this email? And I'm like, wait a minute, what? And I just immediately called Amazon and was like, hey,
what's going on here?
What's going on here?
Yeah, that's crazy. Amazon especially is very dangerous because you have all of your saved payments and stuff there, and people can literally buy whatever they want with a click. And at what point is it too late to get it back if you're not staying on top of this kind of stuff? So a lot of the credit card companies have these fraud alerts and stuff like that, which are helpful to an extent. But it's really on you to make sure that you're keeping yourself safe. And one way that I always like to pay for things online is PayPal. I think that those like the Google Pay, the PayPal, I feel like are pretty safe.
They are, yeah.
And
it's like Venmo, not safe.
It's an extra layer of security, right? And that's what I would suggest.
But it's like you mentioned cybersecurity, and one of like the frauds on here is free Wi-Fi scams. Because like people actually go out, establish like using a hotspot for Wi-Fi for people to use, and they'll put up just random signs in places that say, oh, there's free Wi-Fi here. And people sign on to that hotspot, not knowing that it's owned by like somebody who's a hacker or a computer scammer, and they yoink all your information because you signed on to their connection.
Yep. It's already too late.
It's already too late by the time that you do that, because who isn't looking for free Wi-Fi? I can't walk around in the world and not have internet connection. Are you kidding me?
I would go insane.
Yeah.
What is going on here? I can't check my feeds.
No.
I need to check my feeds while I'm out and about. So we mentioned how young people get scammed more often, but for less.
Yes.
And I thought that was interesting. So they have another thing here about age and fraud loss. So we mentioned that ages 20 to 29 lose an average or it's the median. The median loss is about $450, right?
Yeah. It's probably affecting because people like us or people in our age demographic are falling for different types of scams than the older generation.
So speaking of that, for our age group in particular, the 20 to 29, it says the top loss reports for people aged 20 to 29. Number one, online shopping. You go to a website, you buy something you think is cheaper than, on Amazon.
Yep.
And it's just some random website. And all of a sudden you realize you're trying to order something from China.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wait a minute, I don't think this is actually coming. People aren't responding to my emails about this.
I mean, it is coming from China. It could just take a while.
So number two is imposter for the government. So this is an interesting one because a lot of us are scared of the IRS, right?
Yeah.
The IRS is most popular government agency, I guess you would say, that people try to be fraudulent on because it's the easiest way to try to get a hold of somebody about something that's really, really urgent and get them to send money to you.
Yeah, I get phone calls on the daily that are just saying that my social security number is at risk or has been acquired.
Right. So either they'll try to sell you like an insurance policy. By the way, there's no insurance for that.
No.
Or they'll say, I'm the IRS.
Mm-hmm.
You owe us $4,000.
Yeah.
Wire it here.
Yeah.
Right? And as soon as you wire something, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Huge tip. Going into the tax season this year, the IRS will never call you.
No, they won't. No.
The government, for the most part, will never call you and do anything on the phone. They will always send you snail mail. And it's because that's really the safest way to do it.
Yeah, it is.
Other than maybe faxing, which is, where are we, the 80s? Yeah. Sending crap over the telephone line? Yep. It's funny.
Those dot matrix papers.
I went to fax something the other day, and I'm just so lost. I'm like, I can't believe I have to do something like this, and I don't understand actually how to do it.
Yeah, I had to go to like Office Depot to go fax something.
Yeah.
I'm like, who faxes? Who has a fax?
You got a title page? Like, I need a title page?
Yeah.
What's the number? And then like they send it, and you're like, you're crossing your fingers hoping it goes through.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, oh man, I hope this line isn't busy, otherwise it's not going to go through. Like, it's ridiculous to me, but it is really the safest way because you can't hack a phone line.
No, it's true.
You can't hack a phone line.
Yeah.
So number 3 is business, an imposter for businesses. So this is, hi, you just ordered something from us, and we forgot to say, hey, you could also buy this.
Yep.
Add it on. We'll throw it on your order.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's like, no, that's not.
Yep.
It's not.
You ordered something on eBay and you missed the auction. Somebody else got it.
Yeah.
But they didn't complete their order. Would you like to be able to buy this? Like, still?
Yeah. Or we have another
one.
Go
to this other website besides eBay. Or we have another one. Go to this website besides eBay and order it there.
Right, exactly.
Yep. And you won't get it.
Counterfeit check scams.
Yes.
So this is the one I was talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have another story where I was selling stuff on Craigslist way back. It was like 10 years ago almost, on Craigslist. And this guy randomly emailed me and sent me a check for way too much money. It was like $2,000 more than what the desk I was selling was for. And they're like, oh, keep a little extra for yourself and the rest is for movers or whatever.
Yeah.
So I went to cash the check. Lo and behold, it bounced. And I'm getting emails from this guy saying, oh, I'm going to call the FBI on you because you're not wiring me my money.
Oh, my God.
What a piece of crap, dude.
Wow, that's so messed up.
What a piece of crap. So, that's my second.
That's your second one where it's just like I actually made it through the door and almost did it.
And guess what number 5 is?
What is it?
Business opportunities, work at home plans.
Oh,
wow,
yes.
I think that happened to me too. Weird.
Of course it did. Because who doesn't want to work from home, especially in this day and age?
Where in my field you can, as long as you get all the assets you need to work from home. You could easily work from home. So I thought that was interesting about how they really broke it down for the younger group because we are getting scammed more often.
No, it's true.
And there's payment methods and contact methods they have here. Number 1 payment method is wire.
Yep.
And that's because after a certain amount of time, the wire is gone. I think it's 48 hours, your bank can't reverse the wire.
Yep.
So that's pretty much your time limit there. And the contact method, number 1, is online.
Yeah. And we're getting scammed by just like things that are just like, either business opportunities, some way to make some extra money by selling certain products, or just like our businesses that are selling us things. We are like a consumer age.
And we love to randomly, spontaneously buy stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So
treat yourself.
Exactly. Treat yourself. Especially if you're only thinking you're spending like $100 for something. Yeah. And all of a sudden it's gone. And there goes $100. And you like, in the grand scheme of things, it might not be the biggest loss for you, but it's how these people are making a living.
Yeah, because it's not hard to believe that these are the specific types of scams that our age is falling for.
Right. So the median losses also break down into other age groups. So I'm going to go through them quickly. So 30 to 39, $380 is the median loss. Okay. 40 to 49, $410. 50 to 59, $500. 60 to 69, nice. 600. 70 to 79, 800, which we said earlier. 80 and over, $1,600.
Yeah, it's
so insane. You can see after about age 40, it only goes up more because these are the people that have more money. Yeah. They have that nest egg somehow.
They've gotten their retirement money back. They've gotten their Social Security. Now they're looking to extend that money somehow.
They're well into their careers. They usually will have a pretty good position, making decent money.
Yep.
So I thought that was interesting because I have definitely been targeted a lot, I would say. Especially, I just kind of go through my spam email every day and kind of just laugh at some of the things they're trying to send me. Like a lot of them are like they fake to be Bank of America or whatever, your local bank.
Yeah.
But it's from like a charter.net email. You're
yeah,
like,
I actually
out of here.
Yeah, I actually get like fake emails through like my work emails, surprisingly, that are benefits that they say are through my work when they're really not. And my IT department is like constantly sending out emails that are like, oh, if this came through, don't respond to it.
Right.
These are not benefits that are through our company.
Right. And I even sent an email to the, it's called productionhub.com. Mm-hmm. And I even sent them an email saying, hey, by the way, this happened to me. Yep. Somebody reached out to me to try to scam me. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah, it happens all the time. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, you're not going to do anything more about it? You're just going to leave it? Okay, nice. Thanks. I'm glad you guys are looking out for us.
Yep. So our next topic, we're actually going to like break it down into the different specific like fraudulent types. 650,000 of it is identity theft. Identity theft, I think, scares me more than any other type. Just because like the thought of somebody getting your social security number, because that's really all anybody needs to be able to take like all they need is your social security number, your address, and your name,
date of birth,
and your date of birth.
Right.
And like, so if they get your ID and your social security card, you're just like, they can take a loan out in your name. They can just do those
They can open up multiple credit cards under your name, and you'll have no idea.
You'll have no idea. Well, I mean, if you have a credit report, you'll get those.
Well, the thing is, if they're opening up new cards and they're making it under their emails and stuff, you won't know.
No.
You won't know unless you look at your credit score and it's tanking all of a sudden. You're wondering why.
And the amount of time that it would take to even get any of those things like reverted, refunds, any of that stuff. And it's like, you can't get a new social security number. That person has that for life. Like,
and by the way, your credit score doesn't fix instantly either.
Yep. And you got to freeze all those things. You got to freeze every single credit account, and you can only like levy it up every once in a while. It's insane. That scares me the most, more than anything else.
I've had 2 credit cards stolen from me.
Oh my God.
One tried to buy $100 worth of alcohol in Chicago.
I love it.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yep. And then obviously it's 892,000 is other, which the other categories. So if you break it down into top 10 fraud categories, we have imposter scams, which was your favorite.
Yep.
Telephone and mobile services, which we've already like tried to understand a little bit more. It's just people calling you. Online shopping and negative reviews.
Yeah.
Prizes, sweepstakes, and lotteries.
I can totally see this.
How many times have you heard this online? Congratulations, you've won.
Yeah, oh my God. You know what I do when I fucking panic, dude? Yeah. I'm like, no, I gotta click that. Like, get out of here. Get out of here.
Get out of this website. I'm like, no. Because it's so in your face. And we were just like raised in like that early internet stage where these like pop-ups would happen, and we were just immediately like, oh God.
Get rid of it.
Like my parents' computer's going to get a virus on it to turn this off, because they just keep popping up. So it's like those just like prizes, I feel like we as our generation are not willing to fall for it because we grew up like playing with the internet as children. But adults who are like, or the older generation who just like play the lottery, play those sorts of things, and they just see, oh, congratulations, you've won on your computer. It's just like a scratch ticket. You're just signing up for an online scratch ticket.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, you're not. You're signing up for your shit to get stolen.
So you would think we're more woke about this kind of stuff, when in reality we end up getting scammed the most in general. Yeah. I don't know if about like the lottery itself exactly, like those kind of things.
Yep.
I feel like we're a little bit more woke about not clicking random links that we shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Unless you're really, really smart about it.
Yeah. And then there's travel, vacations, and timeshare plans.
Timeshares, the biggest scam of them all.
This one I almost fell for back in the day. Like, I think it was like early college. It was like 2010 or 2011. But I just remember because I had gotten this phone call that was about a free cruise. And it's like, it's a free cruise. And unlike most phone calls I had received, it was a live person. They were actually on the phone, like talking to me. It wasn't just like an automated service with designated answers. This person was a legit person. They actually spoke decent English, like eloquent. And I kind of listened. I talked for them a little bit about it. I answered a couple questions, not like name or anything like that. And then it got down to the point that they asked me for my credit card information. I'm like, why do you need my credit card information if this is free?
Exactly.
And they're like, oh, it's, just in case, like when you are on the cruise and
it's for the insurance.
It's for the insurance. And it's just, I was like immediately like, no. And then I had found out the next day that somebody else in my class had gotten that exact same phone call and fell for it. Gave them their credit card information, and they got charged $3,000. However, they did get a cruise out of it. It was an actual company trying to sell people a cruise. It was like a timeshare sort of thing, and they got a cruise. They definitely overpaid for it. I don't think I've ever seen anybody pay $3,000 for an all-inclusive cruise. I mean, maybe like $1,500. It depends on the cruise. It's true. But yeah, they got an actual cruise, but they were like, no, I'm not paying. Like, I'm a college student. I'm not.
Get me out of this. I can't
afford $3,000.
Get me out of this.
So yeah, they got it all taken care of. But it's just crazy to think about that. It's just like, yeah, these do exist. Real people will call you and they will try to sell you something, even if they say it's free. It's probably not. And then foreign money offers and counterfeit check scams, which, counterfeit checks. Pretty much most scams are foreign. They are wired directly out of our country. And then you have business and job opportunities, which easy for our age demographic who are hungry for job opportunities.
Especially decent paying ones.
Yep. And then healthcare, which this one I can definitely see as the older generation falling for these ones, because health insurance is just getting more and more expensive every single year.
And think about it. If an older person has to keep going to the hospital for routine checkups, and then all of a sudden they get a call and said, hey, you didn't pay the bill from last time. And then they say, wait, doesn't my insurance cover it? It's like, well, no, this is the extra part over the insurance.
And the last one is advance payments for credit services, which, it's just those people calling you for a credit card and just...
Or they're going to be like, hey, let me fix your FICO score. I can give you 100 points on your FICO score. Just, give me a couple grand.
Yeah, exactly.
And I can take care of it for you. And then you realize your score is actually
Are you paying
down.
Too much on interest rates on the credit card that your balance is? Transfer it to this like generic bank, and we can help you lower your interest scores. But you have to pay a fee to be able to use this.
Right.
And it also, it gives breakdown of percentage reporting loss, which the highest one of these categories was online shopping and negative reviews, with 68% people actually falling for those scams, which, like we said, those types of categories are the ones that are most likely to fall. Imposter scams are the highest. Actual total money lost, which is $666 million.
And that's a lot of...
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of cash.
That is a lot of cash.
Yeah. I gave a tip earlier, right, about how the IRS will never call you.
Yep.
And if they say they're calling you, it's not the IRS, right? If that's facts, you can Google it, and they will say the same thing. We will never call you.
No.
So we found a interesting infograph about government scams and how people try to imposter the government, right? So they actually have a graph here, and it's the government imposter reports over time. So the peak is 2019 quarter number one, where they had 140,000 reports of government scams. Oof. So, and you can see it does, in 2016 was the next highest at about 100,000 reports or so, but it's gone up over time. So you can see how more and more scams are coming out because it's easier to get connected with people in general nowadays.
Yeah, I know.
In so many different ways, whether it's an email or a phone call and all this kind of stuff. So it says government imposter scams have been the top fraud since 2014.
Oof.
That's scary.
That is scary. Everyone's scared of the government.
Yeah, and if the government says you owe them money, you're gonna think about it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Top payment methods are by gift cards or wire transfer. Gift cards. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Buy me a gift card.
Buy me a gift
Send
card.
a gift card here.
Send a gift card to the government.
That seems a little silly. Yeah. And then the top contact method is by phone.
Yeah,
so like I said, if the government tries to call you, especially because here's the thing, right? I would say most people are W-2 employees. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So when it comes to tax time, they're most likely getting a refund. So when the IRS is calling you saying you owe them money, you really have to question it, especially if you're a W-2 employee. Yeah. So this is where...
Because your taxes are already covered.
The minority, the self-employed, the business owners can get exploited, right? Because they definitely are going to have to owe money because if you don't make your estimated payments, or they can say that the payments weren't enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So that's how they can get more money out of the American public.
Yeah. But you think about it, it's like these larger sums of money that they are calling these independent workers for aren't necessarily out of the ordinary,
right,
for an independent to have, because it's like this is their yearly income being taxed on them. So it's like if it's like 1,000, or like if this fake government person is calling an independent employee of like missing about like $1,000 or $2,000,
$10,000,
up to $10,000, depending on how much that person made that year or how much they're normally paying. It's not that out of the ordinary for them to hear. So they'll be like, all right, yeah, I guess so. I guess I must have fudged up my numbers in my tax return, and I owe the government more money than I thought.
Quick piece of advice: hire someone to do your taxes, please.
That's true.
Don't use TurboTax, please. Like, I know they make great commercials.
Yeah, they do.
Right?
Yeah. But it's like there's so much more,
somebody.
And there's so much more money that you could be making from your tax return if you actually report things.
Or just ways to be able to set up your taxes better.
Yeah.
Because this kind of goes into real estate, where there's a lot of fraud that happens in real estate.
Yep.
And in taxes especially are important for real estate, because if you're a business owner and you do your taxes a certain way to try to deduct the most, so you pay the less amount of taxes, it also moves down the amount that you could say you made in profit.
Yes.
Right? When you're writing everything off. So when you're trying to apply for a mortgage and you're a self-employed person writing everything off and it says you're making 25 grand a year, you're not going to actually qualify for any mortgage.
No.
So that's also why I'm saying talk to a CPA, right? Talk to an accountant, get it done through them.
Yep.
Support your local businesses,
That's
right?
true.
Why not?
Yeah.
It's really not that much to have somebody like that take care of your taxes and to look out for you.
Yeah, I mean, they're paying those guys to dance out on the street to come in and do your taxes with them. Why not do it?
They have the great signs. They're spinning them around.
They're spinning them around. They're doing tricks.
So in 2019, there were 389,563 reports of government imposters. They gave a top 5 of government imposter scams, the top 5, right? So number 1, Social Security Administration. You mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
They were looking for the Social Security numbers.
Yes.
Number 2, Health and Human Services and Medicare. This one definitely targets, I would say, the older audience.
Yeah. Well, also that Social Security one could also be targeting the older audience if they're talking about like their Social Security money that they've received from retirement.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure. Number 3, IRS imposter. We went over that. Number 4, police, sheriff, or FBI. And number 5 is government grants. 4.9% of people reported a loss. So for the most part, we're pretty good, I would say,
about understanding that government calling us.
Right, and not to fall for it. And most of the time, I'm guessing, is because you get a call from these people, and then you call your tax guy.
Yep.
And you ask your tax guy, and you're like, wait, I just got a call from the IRS saying I owe 10 grand. What is this? I thought I was supposed to get a refund. And they're like, yeah, you're getting a refund. Who called you? What is this?
However, $152 million is nothing to scoff at from what they've lost.
Yeah.
From what that 4.9% have lost.
Which is $1,100 median loss.
Yeah.
$1,100.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's a good amount of cash. So they give a bunch of tips at the bottom, and one of them is do not trust caller ID. I've seen a lot of caller ID things nowadays where it'll just actually say spam call. I don't know if you've gotten that.
I haven't gotten that, but I do know that phones now, like iPhones and everything like that, you can just register a different number. Like you can actually put it as any phone number that your phone doesn't have in its contacts or recognized or has received before can't call you, or it just sends them straight to voicemail.
Yeah, I think that's
what it is. It's not that they can't call you,
forward it right to
but
voicemail.
It forwards right to voicemail, which is like if it's actually somebody who wants to reach you, they'll leave a voicemail.
They'll leave a voicemail, correct. Do you have any good stories of any scams, any fraud things that you haven't shared yet?
No, as far as like the cruise goes, most phone calls that I receive
you got the cruise,
are
right?
those things. I mean, a year after I had bought my first, like actually took out a loan to get like my first like real new car, I had started receiving a buttload of phone calls that were all about my warranty. They're like, your extended warranty's running out or stuff like that. There was a problem with your warranty. like I was getting those consistently, and I was like, wait, is my warranty like already going out? Like, how do they know that I just recently bought in a car? But the thing is, people can access these things. People can find out. It's easy.
Yeah. And when it comes to buying a car, like you said, one that I found is very popular, and it's even popular with student loans nowadays, is refinancing the loans.
Yeah, exactly.
So they'll just have this money reserved to pay off your loan so that you'll pay them interest instead of the bank or whatever it is. So that's another scam that people can definitely do. So I thought it's interesting that I also bought a newer car. And I was getting emails about refinancing my auto loan. I'm like, dude, I just got an auto loan with less than a 3% interest rate. Why am I trying to like?
No, why would I try
actually
to
just got free money? Why are you trying to like give me 5% when I have less than 3%?
And I'm pretty sure when you refinance, you lose your warranty because like if you're financed through something or anything like that, you lose certain benefits that you're already getting from financing with who you originally signed on with.
I would also, quick tip about buying cars. If you're going to go buy a car, go do the bank for a loan.
Go through the bank for a loan.
The interest rates are like half as much.
Insane.
Especially nowadays. Interest rates in general are super, super low.
And those salesmen, they will tell you that they'll be able to get you like a 3% loan and stuff like that. But then 10 seconds later, when they go to their computer and they come back, they're like, oh, I tried so hard, but the best that we can get you is 7%. And then you just fall for it. You're like, yep. You're like, I guess so.
But in reality, you should be putting a decent amount down on a car so that your loan isn't forever, because a car is a depreciating asset. I think I said that word right.
Yes.
So it's going to lose value over time. Meanwhile, the loan that you have for, 60 months or whatever it is going to stay the same. So it's important that you find that threshold of when your car and your loan are worth the same amount, right? And try to figure out a way to get it paid off by then.
By that time,
Right. Even though, for the most part, having an auto loan isn't actually bad for your credit at all.
No, it's not.
Because it's a reoccurring thing to show that you can make timely payments. And because of that, that's one of the biggest things that actually boosts your credit. So having student loans and a car loan is actually decent for your credit, but it's bad when it comes to your debt to income ratio.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
When you have to try to get a loan because you have all of this money already tied up and it just cuts into your bottom line.
So we went on a tangent for a while about cars and auto loans and stuff like that. But
all sorts of financial stuff in general.
But we also talked about like travel scams and all those things. In a few weeks, I'm going on vacation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I figured like next week would be a good time to maybe talk about like traveling. Just like vacations, any of those things, like how much it costs to, like on average for people to do those things, or just how hard it is, or places we've been and where we want to go.
Yeah, some of our bucket list things of what we want to do in certain places, I would say would be a fun thing to talk about.
Yeah, I think so.
I think for me, if I was to take one thing away from this episode, is to always double check.
Yeah, always double
check everything.
Yeah.
Whether it is an email you got to make sure that it's a legitimate email, or that, the guy who's calling you is actually, the person you need to talk to.
Yeah.
Right? And all of these kind of things, because people can manipulate emails so easily nowadays. And one piece of advice that I've heard is assume these people are already in your emails.
Yeah.
So as soon as you get into something that requires a lot of money, like an auto loan, like a home loan if you get a mortgage, it's something to be aware of when you get in a transaction where you're emailing people constantly.
Yeah, you're like, these people have my information, or at least enough information to be able to contact me.
What they'll do is they'll pretend to be somebody you need to send money to.
Yep.
Right? So that's just something to be aware of.
Yeah, it is.
So next week, traveling should be really fun. I'm looking forward to it. I've done some traveling in my young life here. Yeah. So until then, let's get this bread.
Acquire that grain.
Till this week.
And have a great week.